What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla spying the overall markets. I'm also going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a crazy day as we have big data coming out for Tesla and also something that's going to affect the whole markets. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Weeble link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total. And deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75. Offer ends very soon in just about 3 weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla. So, as far as Tesla goes, one thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that we had a high up here at 263. We came down, made a lower high, came down, made a lower high, came down, made a lower high. So it's consistently doing that, showing some weakness. There could be a risk of us dipping a little bit lower for Tesla as the day goes on because Tesla's showing a little bit of weakness compared to the market. But the question now is what's going to affect us moving forward. I want to talk about another very important catalyst that's going to affect us. And also the entire market. So today we just had the FOMC minutes. This is worth noting because it gave us more insights about what the Fed was thinking. What basically happened was the majority of Fed members were in favor of a 50 basis point cut, and that's not bad whatsoever. There were a couple of them that made a nice case for 25 basis points, but so far it wasn't really too bad. And in my opinion, the market saw a bit of a dip and is still holding up very nicely. So there is still potential for upside for the broader markets. Now, as far as the future goes, at least for the markets, so far the view is still kind of set on a 50 basis point cut for November. That's the most likely case with an 81.4% probability. This is what the market's pricing in. We'll see if this ends up being the case, but it hasn't really been affected as much, even with that minutes coming out. It's almost as if the market wasn't really phased by that as much. However, going into tomorrow, we have something else that's very important. So tomorrow is going to be Thursday, October 10th, 2024. 1 hour before the market ends up opening, we have the CPI data report coming out. So we're expecting core CPI to be around 0.2%. Month over month, and then core for year over year, we're expecting 3.1 to 3.2%, basically the same as before, with month over month being a little bit lower. We expect inflation for all items to come down alongside all items year over year to come down month over month and year over year. So we're expecting CPI to basically come down. Will we get a number like that or not? We'll just have to wait and see. So that's going to be a very, very big factor for Tesla in the broader markets. If we get a hot CPI tomorrow and CPI is not aligned with expectations, if it's just flat, the market could dip and this could drag Tesla lower. If the whole market bounces very nicely after CPI comes out, this could help Tesla try to push up as well. So we'll see which way it ends up going. So that being said, that's going to be one big factor for tomorrow. We also have the robotaxi coming out. The robotaxi event, can't wait to see what Tesla announces for that. Also, we'll be watching to see if Musk talks about FSD for semis. Many reporters are saying that's a one possibility. Not to mention the fact that they could be unveiling new products, such as the Cyber Cab, the Cyber Van, or if you want to call it that, you can even call it like the Tesla Van, whatever you want to call it, and a bunch of other things like that. So I can't wait to see how it's going to be looking. I also want to mention that this is going to be happening tomorrow after the market closes at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So it's taking place in Hollywood. So it could be very, very interesting if Tesla does unveil some new cars. I can't wait to see how things end up going for them. So, what is my view for the share price of Tesla in the market as of right now? So, Tesla was trying to rebound. Okay, it hit 247. We tried to bounce, only to get a rejection again. So, it's still a little bit lackluster. It's still in the red compared to the market, which is still in the green. I do want to mention that Deutsche Bank analyst Edison Yu did maintain a buy rating for Tesla, despite the fact that they are kind of neutral in the share price in terms of what they think is going to happen for their targets. And Tesla's not really reacting as much. It's still kind of lackluster approaching the event. So we have 240 as our main support. If Tesla does not hold that, we could be dipping to 238. And we want to get back above 244 to turn back up. As of right now, it's making lower highs and lower lows, so it looks a little bit more bearish, especially as we weren't able to break past this resistance. We pushed, attempted to do so, only to reject back down. And as the market's at all-time highs, Tesla is still lagging behind. So it still looks a little bit weak here. It could be approaching the 240 area all over again. It's trying to base between 238 and 240, but I'm just trying to say it looks a little bit weak. So CPI is going to affect us. If you're holding anything overnight, we'll see if this causes Tesla in the market to bounce or not. If things don't go as planned for the robotaxi event, or if it's not as great, let me just say this. The daily chart does have two gaps, one above and one below. If things aren't too good with the robotaxi event and we tank, we could be looking for this gap fill down to the 230 area. Tesla could be tanking back down. But if the opposite happens and they do really, really well, and they announce these new products, Tesla could be trying to push back up towards 260. One could also argue Tesla has like a cup and handle like structure that's developing. So it could go either way. We'll have to just wait and see depending on the event. So if you guys want to play this, it's up to you, but be very, very patient. I do anticipate a big move that's coming. As far as SPY goes, we have pushed very nicely to 577. My target was 578 to 580. I still think there's potential to go all the way up there as we're holding up quite nicely. But whether or not we break through that resistance depends on a factor. What will CPI bring? So if you're holding overnight, be careful, guys. CPI could cause a rug pull tomorrow, or the market could continue to squeeze. Even if we do push higher, though, my warning for everyone is the fact that the market's going to form a top soon. I still believe in the narrative that the market is going to be getting a big pullback approaching November. So please keep that in mind, guys. That's most likely going to be the case. But could we push a little bit higher from here? It's still possible. If you're holding anything overnight, be careful. That's my warning because we have CPI coming out. So if we're bullish and we break past 577, which was the high of the day, this thing is going to launch all the way up to 578, if not 580. And if we're bearish, you want to see this basically lose 575. If that fails us, we could be dipping back down. As of right now, we're holding up nicely, so the odds are favoring upside, but that depends on CPI at this point. For ES, we're doing a good job. We approached my target. I was talking about 58.40. That's almost exactly where this went to. If we're bullish and we break past that, we're going to be looking for another attempt to break to uh, 58.80, 58.50 plus, excuse me, guys. And if we're bearish, you want to see this basically reject and lose 5800. Could go either way depending on CPI. So be ready just in case. Keep that in the back of your guys' minds. For Nvidia, we're turning over a little bit. If we end up losing 130, this is going to be dropping a lot more. It's about 128. And for bullish, you want to see it break past 135. Could go either way. We're just range bound. So we will see which way this ends up going. But one thing worth mentioning is the fact that the market is still holding up decently, and we could go either way depending on CPI. Nvidia does look like it's forming a top very soon, though. I think it might top between 136 and 140. But just to be excuse me, just to be safe, we'll see what happens with CPI. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin's tanking right now, so this is not the best of signs. We're looking for 60,500 as our target. We have resistance around 61,800, so it could go either way with this head and shoulders. It does look a little bit more bearish, and it might be approaching the 60,500 area. For other factors out there, we have NQ. NQ is trying to push higher. We're looking for 20,500 as a potential target. Could go a little bit higher for that, but we'll see if you reject off this top all over again or not. If we lose 20,400, looking for a dip back down, we could be approaching 20,200 again. If we break past this high, we could be pushing higher, so give it some time, and it could go either way. For the QQQ, we're doing a good job at holding up. We have a nice looking double bottom like structure as we're trying to push higher. Look at this resistance right here around this 494 area. If that breaks, we could try to fill this gap to 495. If we end up rejecting and losing 490, we could be dipping back down to 486. So it could go either way. We'll have to wait and see and give this as much time as possible. So we'll see which way this ends up going. But I still think that there's potential in this from a technical standpoint. Whether or not that happens depends on the CPI report, but we'll see if 495 ends up coming. For Aapl, we look like we could be approaching 230, still has more juice left, but let me just make it very clear that we're not 100% guaranteed yet. We're just going to be waiting very, very soon with what's going on. So give this some time to develop. Still has more upside potential, but it depends on CPI. The Russell hit 220, came very close to 220, and now it's coming back down. So we're going to be looking to see if we could try to get back above 218. If not, we're at risk of dipping back down to about 216. So give that some time. For Coinbase, Coinbase is kind of stuck in the middle. If we can't reclaim 169, there's a risk of it coming back down towards 163. For Amazon, we're looking a little bit more bullish. If we could hold above 185, we're looking for this imbalance to fall towards 186.5. If not, this could reject and dip back down. For Meta, we're looking pretty decent. We're still holding up nicely, but we're barely holding our 20 EMA. If 586 breaks, this will be dipping closer to about the 575 area. So we'll see if Meta gets a rejection or not. For Microsoft, if we break past 420, this will be pushing back up towards this imbalance. If this rejects, we'll be dipping back down towards 410. 420 has not been able to been broken by Microsoft, so there's a risk of it dipping lower to 414 again. And then Google's looking a little bit weaker. It had some bad news, but a piece of news came out because it got a big price downgrade. That's why the share price started tanking. So that's still affecting it. It could get closer to about 160.5, so be careful. But with that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. Excuse me. I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Tesla's a little bit lackluster, so we'll see how it goes for it. But be very mindful of the fact that CPI comes out for tomorrow. We'll see if this causes the market to pump or dump, so be ready for that before the market opens. And then this is my last warning. If you're holding anything overnight, this is your choice. If you want to hold it, you have to hold through CPI. If not, it's up to you. So that's my last warning for the day. With that being said, guys, I'll be back in a couple of hours after the market closes to give you guys another update. Until then, have a great day and peace out.